How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the Black Metal Rebellion. I'm your host, Jesse Morgan, aka Slammerella, and today we have a black metal review to do, sort of. This time we got an EP by my good buddies from Prevails. They sent me their latest release called Jaws of Janus. Here it is here. It was released July 1st of 2023 this year. Also, thanks for the cool little sticker. The snake eating its own tail, very black metal. Has other implications too that I can't think of right now, but kind of cool. So let's take a quick look at the actual physical release before we get on to this review. If you don't know who Prevails are, they are a normally melodic black and death metal band from Sweden. This release though is more like progressive melodic black and death metal. That is a very bright. Maybe we can calm down a bit, please, ring light. So yeah, that's neat. It's got two heads on there, and you'll probably notice I did a really stupid thing for the thumbnail, but I had no idea what else to do. So there we go. The traditional Prevails logo though, which is nice. I got a t-shirt of theirs. I was debating on wearing that for this review, but I figured, you know what, I don't need to wear their shirt for the review. Anyone who's seen me do a review for this band knows I enjoy their stuff, so more than likely I enjoy this. Stick around to find out, obviously, though. So there's the inside. Really neat, blue, swirly looking artsy kind of disc. There's the inside there. And of course, the booklet with more of those heads. I'm sure they're significant. Don't ask me the significance of those heads, though. Are they the Easter Island heads? I feel like that's probably not it. So, there we go. And the inside, we got lyrics for the songs here. I like how they have Dungeon split in half. That's neat. And they got a quote for each one, too. It's really neat. So, yeah, this is their latest release, but if you want to check out their more usual stuff, they do have 3 other albums and a demo. The first being the demo from 2013 called Black Void Injection. And then after that, they came out with their very first album in 2015 called Dark Trembling Solace. Following that up quickly 2 years later with the second album, False Hope Cruelty. And at the beginning of the pandemic, they released Habitats, and then they went into slumber for a bit, creating 1 song per year after that to make this EP. So yeah, I did a review for all those, so if you're interested in my thoughts on any of their previous releases, check it out in the My Reviews playlist. It should be on the channel somewhere. Just scroll down a bit and you'll see a list of all my reviews. Now, with all that house cleaning out of the way, they started in 2008, so they've been around for a little bit. Let's talk about who the members are for this release. First off, again, thank you, Joseph Svensson, for sending me a copy of this. Really, really appreciated. He is the guitar and lead vocals for this project. And then we have Isabella Romer. She does bass and backing vocals for this. After that, Christopher Helleran on drums. And last but not least, Ludwig Bjork on lead guitar and backing vocals. So as you can see, we got a few vocalists going on here. We got a few guitarists going on here. They have a lot to work with. I feel like this EP definitely let them shine and show their talents beyond just black and death metalers. So let's talk about the release a bit. First off, with the vocals, they were mid to high in the mix, good balance in the EQ. They were excellently performed overall, had great articulation and alliteration. The style of vocals were a mid-tone, throaty, raspy growls for the most part, with some deeper, chestier style growls, and of course, Isabella Romer's melodic female cleans, and some all-out insane asylum type shrieking here and there, sort of like on the end of the track Dungeon. Alright, moving on to the guitars for this EP. They were mid to high in the mix, on par with the vocals for the most part. Another great performance here overall. Good, crisp, warm tone for the guitars. As for the riffs, there's a lot of chuggy, churning power chords, soulful, emotional solo work, some melodic strummed full chords, atmospheric compositions, as well as a few brief moments of tremolo work. Alright, moving on to the bass guitar. It was low in the mix, which is, again, to be expected in the black metal scene. And it was just slightly under the guitar and drums. It was a seemingly good performance, though, considering what I could hear or could not hear. I did notice, though, that it did add a subtle, low hum for the most part, but also even included some percussive clunking, which complemented the drums and deeper riffs in the EP. Alright, moving on to the drums now. This is Christopher Halleran's time to shine. They were mid to high in the mix, great EQ for the levels and balancing, just a superb job overall on the entire EP, timing and creativity, etc. The kick drum had a solid tone, and it also had a fairly punchy snare sound. Of course, there is a bunch of insane fills and rolls and tom work featured on this EP, as well as some sick gallops and fantastic cymbal usage. I love that little ride, tickety-tackety-tack kind of extra kind of like accents here and there. There's a little bit of that. Just a fantastic performance in the drums overall. Wish we could find a drummer like that for any of my projects. Okay, this is normally the section where I go over my favorite tracks on an album, but since there is only 3 songs for this EP, I'm kind of just going to number them from my favorite to least favorite. All songs were really, really good though. So starting off with my favorite track of this EP, that is track number 2, Dungeon. It starts off really aggressive and pretty much just grabs my attention the most out of all 3 songs. So that was why it's my favorite. They all had slow and fast parts, more melodic and more heavy parts here and there, but that one really stood out to me with the presentation in general. Second on the list is track number 1, Ma. Really, really cool name for a song. Kind of reminds me of Halo, because I'm pretty sure there is a level called Ma, but obviously this has nothing to do with Halo, unless... So yeah, with Ma, I found it had a good mix of everything this EP showcases, being the melody or the heaviness, the haunting atmosphere, or even the shrieking that happens. So yeah, it had a pretty nice balance of everything that is going to be found throughout this entire EP, and that's why it sits solidly in the middle of the ranking here. And last but not least, again, all songs were really good, is track number 3, Sculptor. This is the slowest and softest song of the triad here, but it also had a handful of heavier moments and very intense segments. So don't get me wrong, this song also has a couple of really teeth-clenching bangers as well. So yeah, that's my ranking of the 3 tracks on this that clock in just under 20 minutes, I believe. Now let's move on to my overall thoughts on this EP. With Jaws of Janus, Revenge Prevails feels like they're putting on kind of a grim heavy metal theater act, with the 3 tracks feeling like a 3-act structure, even with each song having a build-up, climax, and ending style of composition themselves, hitting with heavy, intense riffs, wild solos, depth-filled atmosphere, and catchy, exciting segments that could qualify for choruses if, of course, they weren't aiming for a more progressive style of format. Revenge Prevails' extremely talented members definitely shine bright in this creative and bold presentation, and I am happy that they were able to kind of step outside the usual genre that they fit in and try something new over the last 2 or 3 years. But with that in mind, let's talk about some weaknesses or improvements that I found with this release. One of the things is I find this release obviously strays from the more typical and usually more comfortable listening style of verse, chorus, verse structure. I mean, I, for one, can appreciate this for an odd track here or there, but I kind of lose interest the more it occurs throughout the EP. With that being said, there's also a little bit too many slow or softer sections, for me at least. I do prefer the heavier, groovier parts. Now, as for Isabella's bass, I kind of feel like it lacked time to shine and was too quiet in the mix. It could have had a chance here or there to kind of just cut out the rest of the instruments, maybe just the drums or some vocals with some bass playing in there. Since they were going for more of a progressive style anyways with this release, there is definitely plenty of opportunity where they could have let the bass shine and really come in and add its own personal touch. And lastly, even though they kind of stepped out of the box for their usual playing genre and presentation in the Revenge Prevails discography, I still feel like they played it a little safe with the experimentation. They peeked their neck out for a little bit here and there with the style of composition, but they didn't fully commit to experimenting when it came to this EP. It still felt like Revenge Prevails, but with a progressive, more theatrical structure twist. I feel they should do probably another full-length album of their usual style, and then come back and hit us with an even crazier, more experimental EP like Jaws of Janus, but even add a couple of different more styles in there, add some more thrash, add some more doomier doom to it, add maybe a longer female clean section, or even see what Isabella can do with her voice, growly or angry or raspy, see what her kind of more grittier vocals might sound like. That'd be kind of neat. And I'm not sure, but does she play keyboards as well? Maybe throw some of that in for the next release. I'm even down for maybe some nu metal or deathcore elements popping up briefly in an experimental EP, if of course you guys plan on doing another one after your next full length. Again, really cool that you guys did something different, but now it's time to really show how crazy and wild you can get for the next EP following, I'm sure, the new album that's coming out pretty soon. I know you guys are always hard at work, so kudos to you. And with all that being said and done, I'm giving Revenge Prevails Jaws of Janus EP a solid 8 out of 10. Really, really good. Pretty neat divergence from their usual style. And thanks again to Joseph Svensson and the Revenge Prevails crew for sending me this generous review copy. Always look forward to what you guys have to put out. Go check it out yourself. All the links will be in the description box below. And until next time, for glory, for the rebellion, Slammerella out.